Did you ever have the feeling you was being watched?
I always feel like somebody's watching me, and have no privacy. Oh, I always feel like somebody's watching me.
Good morning. How is everybody today? They tell me I have to get my presentation started here. Well, Matt's is so good it doesn't want to come off the computer. The logistics won't minimize. Okay, there we go. All right. Great. Okay. Well, good morning. How is everybody today? You guys, we've already had a lot of exciting things going on. Can you hear me through this one? Can you hear me now? Okay. Well, first of all, I'm very honored to be here. I appreciate your time. Joe and John and Luke, thank you for allowing me a few minutes to kind of talk about what we've been doing for the last several months. But what's unique about the McGraw work that I've been doing is that I've got a real connection to McGraw. It's not just another business that I get to immerse myself in, learn about, help. McGraw is a really big part of my life, and I'll tell you a little bit about it. I grew up in a McGraw home, not just a home that a McGraw agent sold. I mean, literally a home with a McGraw agent as a parent. My dad was a school teacher in New York, and we moved here to Tulsa, and Dad did so much to help raise us. He taught and had side jobs, whatever he could do to try to earn enough for us to live and have a good life. But my mom, Judy, who's right back here, became an agent when we moved to Tulsa. And the truth is, I can't say this any more sincerely. Had it not been for this industry, I wouldn't be where I am. It helped pay for my college. It helped give me the life that I've been able to live. And Mom, I appreciate all you've done, and all of you that have worked with her and helped her. That's wonderful. There's another really great connection, and while I was preparing this message, I actually was able to find this letter. But back in 1994, I was just kind of a college kid trying to make his way, and Joe, you took time out of your schedule to sit down with me. And you wrote a letter of recommendation for me to intern for Senator Inhofe at the time. And what was really interesting about that is there's the letter, right, to Steve Edwards, who was the chief of staff at the time, I think, for Senator Inhofe. And again, what an amazing connection. So it's not just this wonderful work I get to do, but it's for a company that I've been personally impacted by and really believe in. I think another really great thing is I've had many jobs in many industries. One of the greatest jobs I've ever had is with one of your brand new partners, AMC. Right after college, I was in the mortgage business as a loan officer, and Jeff and I met at some mortgage banker meetings, and he recruited me, and I still do things today in my career that Jeff taught me. Answer every call every day. I heard him say that a million times, and I still do it today. The old adage, under promise and over perform, absolutely Jeff's model back then, and I really try to take that on myself. So I've got this wonderful connection with Jeff. And then Luke and I, we have a great connection through our kids' school. And so all of these things kind of started working together, and it really allowed me to not just look at data and marketing and branding, but really to look at people that matter and a business that is amazing, and to be that somebody's watching you as a third-party perspective, just to see what I see and share that back with you guys. Because the truth is, McGraw is as good as it gets. I work with great companies that want to be better, not companies that are hurting or falling apart. These are the companies that know that they've got so much going on and things that are really good, and they just want to do a few things to be better. How many wants their business to be better next year or this year? Yeah. Well, so does the leadership team. So a little bit of background of myself. I'm a marketing and branding consultant. I started a firm called Three Chords, and my background is over 20 years in sales and marketing. I've got a real focus in mortgage and financial services. I did some nonprofit work for a while. My last role was with a global medical device company, and I was the global marketing manager leading all digital and e-marketing efforts for 46 divisions in 20 countries. And I have to be honest with you, I think the greatest part of being a consultant is that I'm able to take all of that learning, that education, that experience, and find pieces of it that help the businesses I work with. So it's a little bit about my background. My real expertise is in lead gen or lead generation, all things digital marketing, social, inside sales, and something that's really near and dear to my heart is a passion for customer or client acquisition and retention. It's really important for you to get that second and third and fourth transaction from a client. And it's a mindset that as agents, you've got to evaluate, how am I taking the calls from those people? How am I processing those requests that they have? And I think you've heard a lot already about lead generation, but you will as well going forward. It's not just previous customers, it's new opportunities as well. And so I got hired this fall to do this 360 review of all of the branding and kind of go-to-market strategies being used right now at McGraw. So what's been done? Well, I've got a proprietary process that I call the 360 Prospectus. It's a deep dive. It's probably the best way to talk about it. It's an immersion into who you are and what you do. I really have been, as Matt was talked about earlier, that guy in the back of the room that Luke said don't look at him or talk to him. I've met with many people, and I did a deep dive on the data. There's so much data in this business. And just to really learn who McGraw has been and who it is, and more importantly, to really be able to understand where it's going, I had to know what the numbers told us. And marketers geek out about data. We just love it. And you may not, but it's kind of like a full color picture to me. It's not just numbers on a page. We did a quantitative research project that's been alluded to a little bit. How many in here participated in that online survey? Yeah? We're going to see in a moment, a lot of you did. I think it was 223 people responded. I'll tell you, that's maybe the highest participation rate I've ever seen in doing dozens and dozens of those types of research projects. What that tells me is that not only are you intrigued by the opportunity to give information or your opinion, but you have to believe in where you are. You have to believe in what you're doing enough to take those 15 or 20 minutes out of your schedule and go through those. We've met numerous times with Luke and his leadership team, and Drew said it. Not only do we have great leadership at McGraw and great marketing, but there's really great support staff all over the place. So why don't we give a hand real quick to all of those people that help the agents do what they do? Yeah. It's a really amazing group. And some of the most fun I've had over the last several months is spending time with many of the managers and agents. We've just had a blast, and really I'm kind of a sponge in those interactions. I just want to learn. What don't you like? What do you like? What have you experienced? What's your business like? Those types of discussions. I think one of the other things we did was this brand analysis, and that's a deep dive on what the outside world sees and hears. Because what they see and hear, it impacts what they think about McGraw. And long before someone says, hey, I want you to sell my house or I want to buy a house from you, they have to have a internal need to call you or talk to you. So that's what branding does. It builds a foundation of who you are, and it allows the bridge from that foundation to that action, that call or email to you to go do sell their house or to buy a house through you. I actually acted like a recruit And Becky and Lindsay and Brian, are you here? I thought I saw them earlier. Yeah. So I was with some managers, and I had this great idea. I said, I want you to recruit me like I was a top agent somewhere else. And I said almost converted. Did you see that? Acted like a recruit, almost converted. I've been in this industry that I'm in for a long time. I have no desire to leave because I love what I do. But this is how it went down. I said, Becky, you were there, and Lindsay at the table that day, and Brian, you were there. And I said, let's go to lunch, and I want you to recruit me. And we went to lunch. And before I left that day, Becky said, hey, we'll do that. We'll sit down with you, but you better bring your checkbook. And I said, well, why do I need to bring my checkbook? I'm a digital guy. I don't have a checkbook. Why do I need to do that? She's like, because you'll be a McGraw agent by the time you leave. And I was like, I was really kind of at first like laughing, and it was really funny. But the truth is, McGraw's that good. And when presented in a really effective way, people flip and they come over, right? So, Becky, I did not bring my checkbook that day because my wife told me I couldn't. But no, you guys, the managers are a phenomenal team, and I've loved that time as well. And then after this 360, what me and my team do is we put together some recommendations, right? So we've given some kind of strategic recommendations to the leadership team. Some of those are kind of seeds for future things, and some of them are activities that will be looked at much sooner. So what have we learned? I think everyone wants to know what I saw, right? What does all of this work tell us? And I think one of the easiest ways to get through some of it quick is just to talk through that survey and some of the information that we had. 199 of you did the entire survey, which is really rare. Most people quit after 2 or 3 questions. So thank you for your sticking through it. Did someone say you had to? I did that on purpose. I want you to finish that. So one of the questions was interesting to me because I just didn't know what the makeup was. But how long have you been an agent? You can't see those numbers, so I just kind of raised them up here. 7 years or more. It's 2/3 of McGraw, right? So 2/3 of McGraw, 7 years or more. And Luke, you were doing 10 years and some numbers earlier, but that 7-year mark is kind of where the break was in the data. But that I think something else that's really interesting is that 1/3 of the business is 7 years or less. And it takes all of that to do the volume that exists today, right? So that was pretty interesting. The next big question was, how long have you been with McGraw? And this was alluded to a little bit, but look at this. 7 years or less, that number's 60%. So not the number earlier is how long have you been an agent, and now it's how long have you been with McGraw. This was also interesting. How many knew that 50% of you have never worked for another broker in town? That's amazing, right? I know when my mom started, there was all kinds of flipping happening all the time. People were leaving and changing all the time. And I know it's at moments it's like that, and at moments it's not. But this was really very interesting to me because if you think about the strategic growth of a business, you have to have a firm foundation of people that believe in that product or service. And you've got people that believe in it so much that they've never gone anywhere else. That's an amazing fact. So where'd you work before? This is interesting. Mostly at Caldwell or Keller. There's a lot of others. So I think maybe some of the smaller brokers have brought on a lot of agents. I know the brokerage that my mother started with is no longer in business. I mean, a lot of that happened, but many of you came from those. And then I asked, why did you choose McGraw? What was it about where you were, what you were doing, what you needed or sensed you wanted? What were the things about McGraw that you said, that's where I want to hang my license, and that's where I want to do my business and career? And we've alluded to some of this through the morning, but look, it's market share. It's image in the community. How many know McGraw has a great public image in town, right? It's there. Absolutely, yeah, you should clap, because you know what? It's the founders and the leaders, but it's the agents and support staff that kind of reinforce that every day, right? It's also interesting if you see a trusted friend that was already at McGraw told me how good it was, right? Someone that I trusted, not just Not just a recruiting session, but someone that I really believed what they had to say, said, hey, it doesn't get any better than it is right here, and you need to come over. That was a top thing as well. A lot of you said you loved how it was independent and local. But I think this one up here, the leadership, is something I need to call out because in this question, there was all this ability to put free form answers in, and time after time you mentioned people by name in the leadership team that you just believed in so much that you were going to make a switch and come to McGraw. That's powerful. I've been around a lot of industries and a lot of businesses, and I don't want to overstate this, but it's really true. That's rare. That's really rare that a company has that strong of a trust and connection to the leader group or to the leadership. So I wanted to call that out as well. This was pretty interesting, Luke. When the data came out, we were looking at it, but 24% of you are part of a team now, the team concept. So it's a quarter of the overall organization is working at some level as a part of a team. I think when I was looking at the data, what was most intriguing to me were these next three data sets. So I asked a very simple question. How did you do 2013? We did this in late 14. So how did you do last year in 2013? And what was interesting about that is about 25% of those that responded had done volume of 15 million or higher. And remember that number, because as we look at 2015, there's a great shift that's in the forecast. We're going to come back and really hammer on that and talk about that. So not only do you see 2013 as one of those years of success, but when we asked about the year that was almost finished, the forecast, that number that you guys said you would do in the year that just completed, 15 million or greater, had grown by almost 4%, just over 3%. So those that were at a high volume were growing a little bit, and there were some that shifted from less than 15 into the 15 plus. But to me, what's most exciting is, as a marketer, often we feel, here's all this great stuff in materials and go-to-market strategies, and then you feel like you have to convince the sales organization that it's going to be good. Right? And this happens in most industries. The marketers sit in a room, they lock the door, they come up with a great campaign, and then they go to the sales team who has to really do the work and say, hey, it's going to be really good, you should go sell it. It's a little different at McGraw. So at McGraw, the agents answered 2015 by saying their business is going to grow tremendously this year. Now, there are market pressures in a positive wind behind you. People are feeling more confident in their own financial situation. But it's more than that. It's really, you guys are getting better at what you do every day. And you know that as you looked at your business a year out, that you were going to do that much more. And so the campaigns that you'll see, the marketing initiatives that you'll see, the lead generation focus, the digital and e-commerce platforms that you're seeing, all of that is to support this forecast that's already there. We don't have to convince you. No one does. You already believe it yourself. So here was something interesting. This was to everybody, not just those that had come over. But what were the two primary reasons you chose to work at McGraw? Reputation and relationship. We're going to come back to that. Reputation and relationship. This is really hard to see, so don't try to read it if you're more than 2 rows back. But we asked you about a lot of things that McGraw does and how effective are they. One of the moments I had when I presented this information was when Luke and his team saw your question of AMP, which is all the way down, third from the bottom. It's the least favored component of that list, right? But if you look up, about halfway there's a brown bar, and it says McGraw's marketing was towards one of the very highest things that you felt. So almost immediately, and I'm a really conservative decision maker, and Luke and his team saw that you loved some of the stuff, but the AMP specifically was questionable, and decisions were being made almost instantaneously to support what you told them. And I'm sitting there going, whoa, we should slow down. We should think through this and really wonder if this is right. And I remember Luke just looking at me. He goes, I know it's right. I know it's how they feel. And he immediately wanted to make sure that what you guys had given input on wasn't just taken and absorbed and talked about, but decisions were made instantaneously to support that. So I think that's an important reality of my experience with McGraw. And then this was really, really important. So we asked you 4 things. What's most important to you about McGraw? So what is the most important thing to you? And it's market share, it's stability, the number of agents, and then the individual production, right? So if you look, a low number on this type of report is better. That means it was ranked number 1 by more people, so the number's lower. So almost across the board, stability of McGraw was the most important thing. And I sensed that a lot in my conversations with agents. It was something they looked at as a real strength. The second most important thing was market share. So as Luke alluded to in his opening, recruiting is a big part of that. You've got to bring in, for the future, you've got to bring in some new. But that education and development component that's being rolled out, absolutely critical to help what you guys have called out as your most important thing, the stability and the market share. So I spent a lot of time. I immersed myself with McGraw, and I wanted to encourage you guys, just as someone from the business world that's looked at your business very closely and gotten to know a lot of you and what you do and what you believe. And I just want to encourage you, you have to believe in McGraw. It's that great of a company. And what I mean by that is, more than ever, I believe this is the absolute best real estate company in town. I've always felt that, now I really know it, yeah? Your brand is absolutely highly respected in town by the community, but more importantly by the industry, right? And I say more importantly because if we go back a few slides, it's what brought you here. It's so good in the industry that you, about half of you, came because of that reputation. And everyone in the room plays a part in building that reputation. And every new recruit that comes in, enhances that reputation and builds it over time. I also want you to know that, in looking at the data, the business is strong, but more active right now. If you look at it, they're doing all these things to make it even stronger. It's not just, hey, we're going to make a few decisions and make everyone happy and move on. Real strategic initiatives being launched, resources being spent, right? Time invested for that long-term strength. And we heard from Luke and some of the data earlier. As a marketer, I've seen, as you have, many of the ads by some of the local brokerages. But the fact is, I think many of those ads have been effective, but not to build their business. It's been effective on the industry, right? So a lot of people have seen these flashy ads and the billboards and the buses and all those things, and what has it done? Well, it's kind of started to convince a lot of people, hey, maybe there's something different that's better. But the data doesn't prove that what they're doing is actually helping them grow their business. So what's important? It's important for you to believe in McGraw because what they've done has built individual production to the highest of the major brokerages in town, right? What you guys have done as agents has gone out and actually created those results. It's not just marketing. It's real life, effective work being done. I wrote this the other day, and I think it's awesome because it goes off that data point, but you're producing more at McGraw. If you went somewhere else, you'd be part of a group that sells much less as an individual. So I think each of you are at the right place. I want you to believe in McGraw. I want you to believe in your leadership. They listen. That AMP package was surprising. They really care. Literally, in the first 5 minutes of the first meeting I had with Luke and his team, it became apparent that no decision would be made that had a negative impact on agents. So, hey, Don, go do whatever you want to do and research and learn and immerse yourself. But if you put something in front of us that's going to negatively impact our agents and that population, it's not going to happen. They really do believe in you. They're looking consistently for the best ways to grow your business, not just for today, but for years to come. And they're investing in these things at a really high rate to see that happen. I've been around sales teams forever, and the unique thing I think about real estate is that it's a really rewarding business, isn't it? Have you ever helped a young couple buy their very first home? It's a wonderful, wonderful experience, right? Have you ever had that negotiation that you thought was going to go south, and then you get the phone call and they accepted the contract? That's a really great feeling. How about when you get paid on a closing? Does that feel good? Yeah, right. But it's also a really challenging business, isn't it? Have you ever worked with a client for a year or a year and a half, and then all of a sudden you get a phone call that says, hey, we found a house, and we've wrote a contract with someone else? Ever? Yeah. This business is challenging. You know, you need to know why you do what you do, because if you don't know why you do what you do when other people do things that they do, you'll lose yourself, you'll lose your focus. So know your why. When you've worked for months with that client, you need to know your why. When the negotiation goes south, you need to know your why. How about when another agent mistreats you? You need to know your why. Has that ever happened? Someone's just horribly rude, maybe unethical, asking you to do something you shouldn't do. Know your why. I told you earlier about growing up as a son of a teacher, and mom got this job in this business, and that income that she brought in was really to give us the life that she really wanted us to have. She knew her why. And so I say, as things are great, you'll know why you're doing it. As things get tough, remember why you're doing it. And never stop selling. This is one of the things about a busy business like this, is that often you get so busy that you stop looking at tomorrow because you're so focused on today. So never stop selling yourself. Wherever you want to be that agent of choice in your neighborhood, in your church, wherever it is that you interact with people. Let them know you're an agent. It's going to help McGraw, yeah, but it's going to help your business as well. Don't get so busy with today's business at the expense of tomorrow's. We've all done it. Stay focused on the future, not just today. Also, never stop selling McGraw homes, right? I helped on this week. 2015's volume production includes a listing agent of McGraw and a selling agent of McGraw for the house that we just bought on Wednesday. So, yeah, they're here. And we've been moving for 3 days, so I'm absolutely exhausted. But here's the thing. You guys have the best listings. Make sure you're selling them if you're working with a buyer. If you're working with a seller, when those deals come through, do everything you can. Why? Because market share is important to you, not just to leadership. And make sure you're doing everything you can in selling those. But more than just the McGraw homes, never stop selling McGraw. Becky, never stop telling people to not forget their checkbook. You guys do everything you can. Talk about McGraw. Word of mouth, marketers like to call it buzz marketing because we like to get credit for some of it, but it's really just word of mouth, is by far the most effective tool for any business. So when you're really busy and you're at a closing, treat the other agent with real respect and do everything you can to show them why you're with McGraw. I think you heard about it earlier. If you know anyone that's looking to make a change, let the managers know. Let the leadership know. Never stop selling McGraw. I really believe this. Lead generation is the key to any business's growth. And leads come from the past, but they also come from people that have interest. And you guys are going to get a lot more leads. You will get a lot more leads. And I wrote this: the most important piece of information you ever receive in this business is the name of your next prospect. Treat it like gold. Don't let that text or email sit there. It's your tomorrow's closing. Guys, I appreciate your time. We appreciate everything that's going on here.